What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 306 of McRae Live. The date today is Wednesday, January the 15th, 2025, 8:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name's Dave McRae, coming to you live from the Voice Man Studios in Toronto, Canada. And today is episode 3 of the fulfillment of the Billy 2 campaign. Do it again! Going to be a good show today. Roundtable discussion on some various topics. Friday the 13th versus Halloween, supernatural versus non-supernatural. We're going to be talking about favorite movie scores, Canadian horror movies, marketing trends when it comes to movies. Going to be a good discussion today. Should be a lot of fun. And I'm glad you are joining us here on the show today. And on the show today, like I've been doing the last couple of shows that I've done this is the, in case you don't know what's going on and what the hell who are these people and why are you doing this, part of a perk on the It's Me Billy Chapter 2. Yeah, do you remember that thing? Well, it's way in the past now. The Indiegogo campaign for It's Me Billy Chapter 2. One of the perks, of course, was to be a guest on McRae Live here. But if you also were an associate producer on It's Me Billy Chapter 2, you also got that as part of your perk in being an associate producer. And we have 3 associate producers, and Brandon Collins. Brandon, hang on a sec here. Let me go over to the other screen here. Where are you guys? There you guys are. There they all are, except for Tim. Tim's going to be back in just a second. Hang on a sec. I have to unmute you guys. There we go. Now you're unmuted. We've got Clint Mitchell, Tim Fournier, Oliver Mercer, and Brandon Collins, one of our great mods. Brandon Collins is in the top right, Oliver Mercer, the bottom right, Clint Mitchell, the bottom left, and there he is. There is Tim Fournier, of course, in the top left up there. And I believe the 3... Now, Brandon, you picked up the McRae Live perk, correct? Correct. And then Tim Fournier and Clint Mitchell and Oliver Mercer obviously became associate producers on It's Me Billy Chapter 2. And of course, great contributors all around and entitled to be on the show today. So they are on the show today. And let's go around and introduce yourselves. So Tim Fournier, top left. How you doing, my man? Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. Sorry about my voice. It's not good, but I feel fine. I just sound terrible. This is Tim. I go by Flex Symmetry online. Live out in the suburb of Minneapolis, and I've been following Dave. Since probably the beginning.
Amazing.
And I'm really happy to be here, Dave. I think you had such a fantastic year. I was so happy to be involved in your projects. I can't imagine not being involved. I really believe in you. So I thought it was great. So I'm happy to be here, just not happy to talk so much.
That's okay. I really appreciate the kind words, and obviously your extremely generous support was amazing. And hopefully we did you all proud, and none of you are embarrassed to have your names on it. Anyway, so let's go over to below Tim is Clint Mitchell. Clint, thanks for being here, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Like Tim, I'm kind of getting over this crud. It's not the C word. It's the other C word, the cold. So I've been having some nice productive coughs the past week. So it's getting over it. I'm almost done. So at least my voice is there. From the great state of Texas.
Texas. All right. I've never been to Texas. But I hear it's beautiful.
Never been to Canada. Want to go.
It's freezing right now. I wouldn't come now.
England, though. I've been to England.
Wait till July.
We're about to have like our major Arctic blast, and it's going to get below 30, and all the alerts have gone off on the phone saying it's like pandemonium down here because it's going to get below 30. So it might sleet.
Yeah. Well, and you guys don't. I mean, you're not a traditionally you're not a winter state. So when you get snow, it's like Armageddon. It's like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? Just for the record, right now in Toronto, I have to do the translation for my American brothers and sisters. I can't say it in Celsius. I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. Right now in Toronto, it is 16 degrees Fahrenheit. So
Now, actually, it got down to 2021. You know, Texas had that big power grid failure.
Yes.
And it got down to, I think, in Houston, it got down to, I think, 9 degrees. Or something like that.
That's pretty chilly.
All-time low. That was pretty crazy.
That's pretty crazy.
I love snow. I love when it snows here, so I'll go out in it.
That's great. That's awesome.
I'd be fine in Canada.
Well, it's not snow all year round. I mean, funny enough, we get very hot summers, but it's our winters that are very cold. So
we don't really have seasons here. We have hot and cold for 2 days, and it gets back to hot.
That's it. Yeah. No, we got the 4 seasons.
I want 4 seasons. Yes, I would love that. So I want some winter. So let's bring it on.
There you go. And Clint, thank you again for your extremely generous support to the campaign. Really appreciate it. It means a lot. It means a lot.
Absolutely.
Brandon Collins, top right, one of our great moderators here on the channel, been a great supporter for a very long time. Brandon picked up the McRae Live perk, among other things, and was also an extremely generous supporter through and through, and really appreciate your support, Brandon, and really glad to finally put a face to the name, or I think I know your face, put a voice to the face, and you're here on McRae Live. I really appreciate you being here.
It's about time. Love being here.
Awesome. Yes. And Oliver Mercer, all the way from England. Oliver, it is late. It is probably 20 after 1 in the morning for you right now. You are wide awake. I see an It's Me Billy Chapter 2 poster behind you on the wall representing that.
Rocking it out. Is
that the signed poster?
Yes, that is indeed. Signed by everyone involved with It's Me Billy Chapter 2.
There you go. That's right. That's the mains. Yeah,
the main.
Not the whole. That'd be a lot of signatures all over. But the mains. Yeah, the cast.
Yeah, I was counting them. and I was like, I think maybe it was most of them, but not all. But
yeah, it was. Yeah. It was the entire cast, and I think Greg also signed it as well. Greg Bennett, our DP. And so thank you for being here, Oliver. You've been a great supporter for many years now. You were a huge supporter on Chapter 1. You were back for Chapter 2. You stepped up your game for Chapter 2. You became an associate producer. Absolutely amazing.
You know what? I just thought I can't not do that. You know, it's something that was felt was passionate in me to do so. As an avid film lover in general, it was just and horror and any kind of category that you can think of. It was just in my sort of fulfillment that I felt that to you guys as well. You know, Bruce and yourself. It's just and everyone in the team. It's just I thought I had to get on board. You know,
of course,
and push myself. And I did push myself actually on the second one. Actually,
you did. You did. You stepped up your game. You became an AP, and again, we really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. I mean, we could not have done it without you.
I didn't know if I could do so, and then I thought, I checked my bank, and then I thought, yeah, let's go in.
Rent. Who cares?
Yeah.
What the
Bugger it, you know. Well, you know, go.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, we've got some great topics today. For those of you that are just joining us, welcome. So we've got Brandon Collins is going to give us his top 10 favorite Canadian horror movies. We've got Tim Fournier, who's going to be talking about marketing trends, of course. That's going to be a great discussion when it comes to films and sort of what he sees and what grinds his gears, or, you know, all that kind of stuff. We've got Clint Mitchell, of course, who's going to be talking about Halloween versus Friday the 13th, supernatural versus non-supernatural, or anything to do with Halloween versus Friday the 13th. I mean, whatever. Let her rip, Clint. And then, of course, Oliver, you're going to be talking about your favorite horror movie scores or movie scores. I forget which one.
Top 5. Yeah, top 5 movie scores.
Top 5 movie scores.
I had to level it down because otherwise it would just go on forever.
I got you. Of course. Yeah, no, you got to be decisive and sort of pick and sometimes that can be hard.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it's just decisively to sort of break it down to be due diligent through what's my favorite ones and what's impacted me.
There you go. Perfect. Perfect.
And an honorable mention, perhaps,
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
So I say we get this started. Let's start with Brandon. Let's make it. Let's inject some Canadianism into the discussion. And Brandon earlier today sent me a graphic which will cover the entire screen or most of it, but I'll bring it up and just to show people what we're looking at here. This is Brandon's top 10 favorite Canadian horror movies. I'm going to read them out, and then we're going to let Brandon go and talk to us about each one, and then we can chime in. Yeah, we can chime in. So we've got number 1, Brandon's favorite, and I assume this is in order, correct?
It is ranked, yes.
It is ranked. Okay, so Brandon's number 1, in the number 1 spot, is Curtains, ladies and gentlemen. Also, of course, starring the lovely Lynn Griffin. Number 2, this is such a good movie. I haven't watched this in a long time. The Changeling with George C. Scott. That's a good one. In the 3rd spot is, I don't recall this one, but whatever. Black Christmas.
It's obscure.
It's really obscure. I'm not too familiar with it myself, to be honest with you. But in the 4th spot is Terror Train. And then in the 5 spot, we sometimes forget this is a Canadian movie. Scanners. Got one of the greatest head explosions of all time. Number 6 is Prom Night. Number 7 is My Bloody Valentine. There's viewers right now going, whoa, those are all Canadian. Yeah, they are. This is good Canadian stuff. We know how to rock the horror. In the 8th spot is Ginger Snaps. I remember when Ginger Snaps came out because Bruce knew the DP. I think the DP's name was, this is years ago. I mean, this is when we were in college. I think the DP's name was Gavin something, who went on to go and do some work on Degrassi, I think. But anyway, Ginger Snaps. I think they did like a Ginger Snaps 2 as well or something, or 3 or something. I think they did a few of them. Werewolf movie, if I'm not mistaken. And then in the number 9 spot is Videodrome. And in the 10th spot is Jack Brooks, Monster Slayer. Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong, is Robert Englund in that movie?
Robert Englund is in that film. It's a very obscure horror film. Not very many people that I've talked to have seen it, but it is one of the funniest creature features I think I've ever seen. It's if people are not familiar with it, it's about a guy with anger management issues who's been forced to go to court appointed therapy, and all of a sudden monsters show up, and he kind of is a perfect fit to handle monsters because of his anger issues. And it's very funny, very it's a low budget film, but what they managed to do, practical effects, is pretty awesome. I would definitely recommend that. I
remember when the movie was getting, or when it came, it was like, was it 2006, 2005, 6, 7, somewhere
around
there, right?
that time, yeah.
Yeah. I remember it. Okay, cool. Well, take it away, Brandon. The floor is yours. Talk to us about these favorite Canadian horror movies of yours.
Well, I mean, it's hard to make a list without a bunch of Cronenberg. I was tempted to put even more up there. But in the number 9 spot, Videodrome is, probably one of the best body horror films ever made. Watching The Substance this year just reminded me of a lot of Cronenberg. But I think it probably has James Wood's best performance, and he's a tremendous actor. So he's got quite a few of those, but and even Deborah Harry is great in it. So yeah, Videodrome, and then Ginger Snaps, a really underrated werewolf film. Another body horror film, definitely deals with,
It's topical right now too because of Wolfman coming out.
Yeah. I was tempted to put Wolf Cop up there. Has anybody ever seen Wolf Cop?
No.
Or Another Wolf Cop?
No. That have to now.
Yeah, that's Wolf Cop is an acquired taste, but that is also a Canadian werewolf film. Yeah, and then of course, My Bloody Valentine. Who doesn't love My Bloody Valentine? You can see from my list, I'm a sucker for slashers. Prom Night at number 6. Prom Night is a movie that I can throw on every day. I can go to sleep to it. I saw it when I was a little kid. Definitely a favorite. And then
go
of
to
course,
sleep
Scanners.
okay.
I go to sleep to horror movies all the time.
It's great. I love it.
Yeah, they're like bedtime stories. They lull you
right
to sleep.
Right. Well, especially the older ones you grew up with, because as you just mentioned, there's that nostalgia sort of comfort kind of feeling there.
Yeah, I mean, when you know every line of dialogue, every musical cue, it's like your favorite bedtime story.
Right.
Scanners. I mean, who doesn't love Scanners? When I was a kid, my brother and I figured out the freeze frame function on the VCR, and we would, when my mom was at work, we would, rent Dawn of the Dead and Scanners and Maniac and freeze frame those head explosions.
Wasn't that actually done with a shotgun?
It was done with a real shotgun.
Yes.
Yeah. So was Maniac. I believe all 3 of them were done with shotguns. I don't think you can do that nowadays.
No, probably not.
No, not unless you hire the wrong armorer. But
right.
Terror Train. Terror Train is another one I can watch at all time. The only performance
that movie would put anybody to sleep.
I know you don't like Terror Train.
I don't.
It's got David Copperfield's only performance.
It does.
And the director went on to direct a very, very mediocre James Bond film. Number 3, you guys probably not interested in that.
No, I've never even heard of it, so who cares?
Some little movie.
Yeah.
God, I love that movie. I love Black Christmas.
It's great.
And I particularly love now I get to put your 2 films next to it, and I say this is one big story.
Yeah.
Because Hollywood was never going to make a sequel to that.
No.
Even though it deserved it. It was, it's one of the greatest horror films, not just Canadian, of all time. And it kind of sucks that it lives on through subpar remakes.
Agreed. That's why you got to share our sequels, folks.
Yeah, definitely. If anybody hasn't watched it, you should watch them. The Changeling. I'm not big on ghost stories. I've never have been. I like atmospheric films for sure. I like The Others. I like The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
But ghost stories and religious horror are not typically my thing. The Changeling is not just a great horror film; it's a great film, period. And I'm actually related to George C. Scott, so it's one of those. Yeah, it's one of those films that was ever present in my household when I was a kid. And it's also got a great story.
And so how are you related to George C. Scott? Is this like how down the line?
My father's side, he's a cousin.
Okay.
So his family is from the same area that my father's side is from.
So would that make him like a third cousin or a second cousin, or how?
I don't. It's like a third or fourth cousin. Campbell
like
Scott is. I mean, none of us have ever met them. I mean, we're all related to Loretta Lynn too. So,
okay, very cool.
there's a lot of people that are related in that part of the country.
Right. Very cool. It's a great film.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And my number one is Curtains. This film, I think, is one of the most underrated. Not to keep using that terms, but one of the most underrated slashers of all time. It's if people haven't seen it, it's about a very unscrupulous director who is auditioning stars up at this secluded house in the middle of nowhere. One of them is Lynn Griffin, and it's
she's great in it.
She is very great in it. And if you watch it all the way to the end, you know why she's great in it. It has one of the scariest sequences ever, at least when I was a little kid, is the killer ice skating with the sickle. And I would have a recurring nightmare for years about that scene. So that's my favorite Canadian horror film.
Very cool. Gentlemen, guys, Clint, Oliver, Tim, do any of these stand out to you? What are some of the ones on this list that you guys like or sort of can relate to, resonate with? Clint, what about you?
I'm taking notes, Brandon, because I haven't seen a lot of those, so I'm definitely taking notes. Prom Night, I unfortunately saw the sequel before I saw the original. So I had no interest in watching the original for a long time. I thought this is so stupid. But wow, the chase scene with the Wendy is one of the best chase scenes, I think, in a lot of slasher movies. I love that. I love Prom Night. I thought the kills were great. I thought the characters are great. That cheesy music. But it's the best. It's the best. It's the best. What I love most was at the beginning with the kids taunting, playing the games like we all do as kids, and taunting that girl. And when she falls out that window, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
And then I just love the whole, a mysterious person is stalking these people, and you're trying to figure out who it is. And it's kind of obvious. There's a lot of red herrings in that movie.
What's the remake like? I've never seen the remake. Is it any good? Is it?
No, I love Brittany Snow, but it's not even memorable. I don't even remember the plot. It's not. It has nothing to do with the original, right, Brandon?
It's a PG-13 double aughts horror film. I'm not a I Know What You Did Last Summer, Cry Wolf, urban legend, but it's even more watered down than that.
I gotcha. Very cool. Very cool. Anything else, Clint, kind of stand out to you, or most you just haven't seen?
Let's see. Prom Night, of course, Black Christmas. I think I've seen Terror Train, but I'm not 100% positive. I think I probably read some reviews before. I read reviews before I watch it, but
Terror Train has a bunch of Oscar winners in it. Okay.
Yeah. Before they won Oscars, by the way.
Well, Ben Johnson had one for the Last Picture Show,
right,
but
fair
yeah,
enough.
someone
and Vanity
got me with that little Oscar thing with the movie Trog. Is it Trog? With the Troglodyte, and I think it was it Joan Crawford or Betty Davis? One of them was in the movie, and someone told me, so. If they're in the movie, it's got to be great. And it was not very great.
Yeah, there's something about Terror Train that I've tried. I don't hate it, but there's something about it that it's one of those movies. And I think we all have this movie. Maybe we have a few of them, but I think in our lives, there's always that one movie that you try to watch and you give it a couple of times. You're like, okay, you know what? No, it's got to be me. There's something wrong. I got to sit and watch it. And every time I sit down to watch Terror Train, I'm just like, I'm just not into this. I don't find it. You got David. I boring. There's something about it I just can't get myself into. Another movie, not to go off genre here for a moment, but another movie that took me a while to get into, and it's weird because the premise and the subject matter is right up my alley, but for whatever reason, it took me about 3 or 4 times to finally get it, not get it in terms of understand it, but kind of, I think I like, okay, I get, maybe I just but that is what dreams may come with Robin Williams. I don't know what was going on. It was like right up my alley with the whole, I don't know, maybe it's weird. Everybody's got one of those films, and Terror Train for me, every time I sit down to watch it, I feel like I need to go to sleep. I don't know. It's weird.
What Dreams May Come is very sort of inaccessible for me as well. The director of that film, I don't know what their name is, but they did a film prior to that called Map of the Human Heart, with Jason Scott Lee from Dragon, the Bruce Lee story.
Right.
And it's a beautiful film, but it's very similar. I think a lot of people like What Dreams May Come because of Robin Williams and the subject matter. But
that's right. I'm not saying it's all time
horrible.
I just mean it's one of those ones where I'm like, I should like this more than I do. But anyway, sorry, Clint, continue.
No, but I'm definitely Curtains is on my list to watch. Probably this weekend we have our Snowmageddon here in Houston, so I'm gonna definitely check Curtains out.
Cool. Oliver, what about you? Anything on the list that you've seen, haven't seen, want to see, pique your interest?
I have seen The Changeling, isn't it? Changeling?
The Changeling, yeah.
Yeah. And obviously Black Christmas.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, and then what was it? Was it Prom Night? I don't think I have seen
Prom Night.
That might be one of them that I need to see. If I'm not mistaken, if there might be a Prom Night with Linda Blair, if I could be wrong on this.
That's Hell Night.
Oh, Hell Night. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Hell Night, the Heretic is.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. So yeah, Prom Night. That's the one I need to get onto. Yeah.
Cool.
I think most of these are available for free on Tubi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. For sure.
I'll get straight onto that. Search it out.
Yeah, you might as well. Tim, what about you? Anything on this list that you're like, yeah, that's right. Oh, no, I haven't seen that.
So interestingly enough, I'm the old guy in the room, my guess is. And most of these I saw in the theater, honestly.
Amazing.
Nice.
So I turned 18 in 85. And so a lot of these came out. And, my buddies and I were into the slasher stuff, right? We saw, Halloween 2. That was our first really big theater horror movie that we were able to see. We snuck in, but it went on from there. And a lot of these I saw either on video when they came out at the local video store, or we saw them in the theater.
Right.
Scanners, of course, seeing that in the theater and on a matinee with a buddy of mine and watching that head explode, that still is a precious memory because it's just something you never saw coming, and the way my sinuses feel, I want to do what Michael Ironside did and drill into his cheeks, our head. But The Changeling, I remember my best friend Brad and I being bored by that at the time because we were too young to really appreciate the
I could see that. Yep.
The way it was filmed. But I've seen it since, and it really grows on me.
Yeah.
But Curtains, that is a good movie. Terror Train, you watch it because of people that are in it, and it was like a waste of time. But back then there was one video store in the neighborhood, and you had to spend like $15 to rent a video, and one guy in the street had a top-loading VCR, and so we all gathered around in the house and watched these dumb things, and so fun memories. But I've seen a lot of them sadly when they came out.
Very cool. What would you say on here? See, we've got Curtains, The Changeling, Black Christmas, Terror Train, Scanners, Prom Night, My Bloody Valentine, Ginger Snaps, Videodrome, and Jack Brooks' Monster Slayer. What one sort of out of the ones that I just mentioned kind of stands out to you as a fond memory?
Scanners definitely did because it was such a shocker. And we all had to go see Dawn of the Dead when it was out. It came out at midnight. It was a midnight showing only. And so that was also a shocker back then to see that kind of movie. But Scanners, it was a great story. And as a young kid, it just it blew your mind, literally. Black Christmas also, I didn't see Black Christmas till I was a little bit older. And I love that one too, obviously. So those two are probably big standouts for me.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, no, it's a great list. And there's a couple that you mentioned on there that I forgot were even Canadian, like The Changeling. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. And the other one was Videodrome. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I was like, geez, I forgot about that.
That takes place in Toronto, and it's obviously made by Cronenberg.
Yep. That's right. It does. Yeah. People sometimes forget, I mean, obviously there's films that are Canadian that are financed with, with a Canadian production company or with Canadian dollars or, whatever it is. And then there, of course, are the, 5,721,466 American films that are, that are shot in Canada, in Toronto or Vancouver or wherever, and supposed to be somewhere else, which is usually, it's got to be at least 60% of Hollywood movies.
Well, that time was especially important because that was when the Canadian film credit for on the taxes, the tax credit came in. So you had productions left and right going up to Canada.
Oh yeah.
Prom night. There's an American flag in almost every shot of that film because they're trying to sell you that it's in the United States.
That's right.
But yeah, because everything was cheaper up there.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
There's nothing more, and this just goes to show how either it just wasn't, it's not a big deal, or they just, nothing says we don't care or disrespect, and I say that lightly, I don't mean it like it's actual disrespect, but it's kind of funny, and I brought this up, was the movie from, I think it's 2002 or 3. It starred Jennifer Lopez, and it was called Angel Eyes. And
with Jim Caviezel.
That's right. And it's supposed to take place in Chicago. And now Toronto and Chicago are comparable in size. Toronto, in terms of population, is now a bit bigger, but they are very big, skyscrapers. They're very much the same sort of city in a lot of ways. And so you can also shoot in downtown Toronto, and depending on where you're shooting and whatnot, you can also say it's New York, and it would be totally believable. But this was a movie that she was a Chicago police officer. So it was a movie that's supposed to take place in Chicago, and I'll never forget, I'm watching this. Now, for my American friends, obviously, I understand that there's probably a lot about us you don't know about. Toronto has the CN Tower. And the CN Tower, you might know it to see it. You're like, oh, I've seen that before in ads or a Blue Jay game or something. Who knows?
I know it.
The CN Tower is still right now the tallest structure in the Western Hemisphere. At one time, until the Burj Khalifa came along in Dubai, it was the tallest in the world. It was like it kind of looks like the Seattle Space Needle, but it's much, much, much taller. It's nearly 2,000 feet tall. And so it's iconic. It was built in 1976, held the record as the tallest building, if you will. It's one of the 7 modern wonders of the world from the Civil Engineers Society, or whatever it is, up there with the Hoover Dam and the all that kind of stuff. So it's iconic in its own right. You can go up there. There's a revolving restaurant, a glass floor, and an edge walk. We can walk around the outside. You're hooked to a thing, whatever. I haven't done that. I'd probably faint. It's huge, absolutely huge. So in this movie, Angel, so if there's one thing that is going to say you're not in Chicago, it's going to be the CN Tower. Right? You would think, but maybe they felt, well, the Americans don't know what the hell that is. They're not going to know. So on the main artery, or one of the main arteries that goes into downtown Toronto, which is called the Gardiner Expressway, takes you right downtown, right by the CN Tower, the Sky Dome, where the Blue Jays play and everything. And I was down there the other day, actually. And so there's this car accident that's happening on the highway in Chicago. And Jennifer Lopez is on the scene in her Chicago police, the light blue Chicago police uniform. And in the background is the CN Tower in all its glory. And I'm watching this and I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding me. I'm just like, this is, what? That's clearly, that's not, And as a Torontonian, I just was like, oh, come on. Come on, have a little more respect, Hollywood. Come on. Anyway,
the average American is probably not going to notice that.
That's the problem, Brandon. That's the problem. That's the problem. Could you imagine? Everybody knows the Statue of Liberty, the Empire State Building. You know, could you imagine having the Empire State Building in the background? It's okay. I'm here. I'm Boston police. You'd be like, wait, no, you're not. You're. And but maybe I blame the CN Tower people for not marketing the tower over the years. I have no idea, but it's still, listen, if you come to Toronto, it's obviously still a huge tourist attraction. It's still, like I said, it's still the tallest in the Western Hemisphere. You know, who knows if that'll eventually be overtaken by New York or Chicago or even Toronto itself. I think there's about 4 or 5 humongous skyscrapers being built, all not as tall as the CN Tower, but they're being built right now. They're huge, like 330 meters tall or whatever it is. CN Tower is 553, but yeah. So anyways, I digress. That's a whole, but something you said, you reminded me of that, I guess, being here. Oh yeah. Films being shot here in Canada, but you're right. And now I think our dollar is like 60. It's the lowest it's been in like 10 or 11 years. It's like 68 cents or something like that. So, I mean, the US dollar goes further, right? So obviously to shoot up here, the dollar goes further, the tax breaks, the incentives, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just it's huge industry here. What was I going to say? I forget now. I was going to say something else and I forget.
Minneapolis used to be a really big hub for film. Minnesota did, and the taxes killed the companies, and they went up to Canada. So a lot of them went to Canada. Vancouver, you know.
Vancouver's, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's huge up there. And it's because of the tax breaks, because of the dollar. And we have all the infrastructure and the talent and, you know, the resources and the crew as well. I mean, Toronto and Vancouver used to kind of bounce back and forth. It's more so Toronto over the last number of years. But Toronto, outside of New York and Los Angeles, Atlanta's big too. But Toronto's the 3rd largest film and TV market in North America. And so that's why I'm here. You know, I mean, as a Canadian, if you're in the States, you're like LA or, you know, New York, right? If you're a Canadian, it's Vancouver or Toronto, right? And so it's a big deal. And it's fun though to watch Hollywood movies. And actually there was a movie the other day I was watching. It was just an indie film with Anna Kendrick. And it was an indie film. She was being abused by her boyfriend and she ran away with her girlfriends to like this cottage or something to hang out. And it was like this little psychological kind of drama, not really a horror movie, but like a drama. It was all right. It was one of those things where I'm like, oh, what's this? I don't know. Let's watch it. And I never heard of it, but they were walking along this street in a city, an undisclosed, nameless city. And I'm like, I've been down there. I know exactly where that is. And I'm like, this must have been shot here. And I look it up. Sure enough, it was shot in Toronto. So, yeah, it's fun. It's fun to do that.
They've been shooting a lot of things in Massachusetts, too. We've got a huge tax break. The town that I just came from, Salem's Lot, the newest Salem's Lot, Castle Rock Season 2, like tons of stuff.
It's great.
Daddy's, what's the one with Mel Gibson and Will Ferrell?
Oh, not Daddy Daycare.
Daddy's Home.
Daddy's Home. Daddy Daycare. Daddy Daycare.
Mark Wahlberg.
Funny. Yeah. That's great. Let's go over to you, Tim. Let's talk about. I know you had a couple things, but I really like this topic because it's an interesting one. Marketing trends, the way things used to be, the way things are now. I mean, I've talked a bit about this on my channel, touched on it, haven't done a video specifically to it, but this was a really cool, it's interesting. I mean, you're, a few years older than me. I'm 45, you're 54? 58.
Yeah, I'm getting up there.
58. So you're the couple years older than my brother Bob. My brother Bob's 56. So yeah, so obviously, you have a bit of a, I mean, I remember the 80s as well, but from sort of the kid version. You would remember the 80s from sort of the teenager, version, we'll say. And so, but we both kind of remember that time and how different it was and how movies were marketed. And I've often, and I'll let you sort of, take the floor here in a second, but one of the things I've often wondered is if we were not inundated with, I mean, I'm not, a news show per se, but all the reviews, shows, and not there's anything wrong with them, but all these shows and YouTube channels and content creators. And I've often wondered that if we were not inundated with all of these people and, being, telling us, like, for example, The Wolfman's not out yet. It's coming out this week, but there are a lot of people that have already had a chance to see the movie. And, and their reviews are already up. And there's no doubt that there are a lot of people that are watching. Not there's anything wrong with it. I'm not saying they shouldn't do that or anything like that. I understand why they do it. And, all that fine. It's fine. It's fine. But just from a sociological perspective, I wonder how different things would be if those things didn't exist. And how many movies would we actually think are not that bad and that are actually all right or actually really good if we were not inundated with sort of being told, not what to think, but, from a certain point of view, what to think, because we know so much about a movie, about how a movie's made, about what people think of a movie before we've even had a chance to see a movie. And I remember it, as I'm sure all of us do, we would sometimes just say things like, hey, do you want to go see a movie, today? What do you want to see? I don't know. And you didn't know what you were going to go see until you got to the theater, or you might flip to the back of, the newspaper and go, oh, what's this? Geez, that there wasn't this constant inundation of movie, speak, talk, marketing, talking heads, this is shit, this is garbage, all this kind of stuff, between, it's just I sometimes wonder if things would be different. Would we hate the movies we do hate as much as we do if we truly were able to go in without expectations? And one of the things that I say to people to try this, and I really mean this, I think they should try this, because that's what I did with the Anna Kendrick movie, and I actually thought it was all right. And then I looked at, the rating afterwards on Rotten Tomatoes, and it was actually a good rating. But there's been a lot of movies where I will go to Prime or Netflix, and I'll find a movie that I read the blurb, I see the poster, I see what I'm like, oh, I've never heard of this movie. I've never heard of it. Maybe I recognize an actor or two, maybe, but I've never heard of it. I don't then go to IMDb to check it or go to Rotten Tomatoes. I just go, I read the blurb, such and such, trapped in a cabin, whatever, by a serial. I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. Ooh, play. And I just hit play. I hit play and I watch it. I've never heard of it. I don't have a YouTube channel telling me if it's good or not before I've seen it. I just watch it. And there's been so many times where I will end the movie and go, I actually thought that was pretty good. And then I'll go to Rotten Tomatoes and it's got like a 19%. And I'm like, oh shit, I guess I'm not supposed to like this movie. But you know what? I knew nothing about it and I actually thought it was pretty good. I liked it. Doesn't happen all the time. But anyways, I just wanted to set that up as an interesting sort of thing that I think maybe we should all do. How many of us are truly, we don't think we are, but how many of us are persuaded to dislike something or like something by just being so inundated with everything here today? But anyway, Tim, the floor is yours.
Sorry, I was just typing out a message for you all to look at just in case my voice craps out.
Oh, no problem.
I will just become a viewer. I'll kill the stream and become a viewer, and maybe Dave and we can work out a time I can sneak back later.
Sure, yeah. No, if your voice, Tim, is really starting to hurt or starting to get raspy, yeah, you just let me know.
No pain, just very annoying, and I don't want the people to be annoyed by it.
Nah, it's all right.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, this isn't probably going to work, but yeah, you're absolutely right. When I was a kid, you saw trailers either in the theater or on TV. And we had 5 channels back then, 4 channels.
Yeah.
Or you heard them on the radio. the radio was huge for movie trailers, especially the horror ones. And you can go find them on YouTube. Friday the 13th, Dawn of the Dead. They're hilarious to listen to because that's how they marketed the films to us. So you didn't know, and the trailers back then, yeah, they weren't as high tech and as polished and as as good as they are now. But they sure didn't give away anything most of the time. Can you imagine if Spielberg put out, a trailer where they showed the shark all the time, or even King Kong, the trailer from the '76 King Kong didn't really have much but a roar. So I felt we all loved that because you had no idea. You knew about the movie, but you didn't know what you were going into. And then as far as the internet goes, yeah, I mean, the age we live in and the trolling and everything else going on, and there's good and bad. Some people like knowing stuff. Some people don't. There are people out there, I think, that are purposely trying to screw things. And, here's a script. Here's this. No, here, check this behind the scenes out. There's no way that the M. Night could have done Sixth Sense now. Not a chance. And that wasn't that long ago compared to the 80s. But can you imagine Empire Strikes Back? We did not know Vader was Luke's father. That was kept pretty dang quiet until you saw it, So, and even the reviewers didn't reveal that. Siskel Ebert, you had Gene Shalit, you had Rex Reed, and then your local paper reviewers. They were all journalism degreed people with a film acumen and training, and they were smart about how they reviewed films in an artistic way. Is it worth seeing? This is our opinion, but we're not going to give away the farm, right? So I feel like I benefited from that, and I just watched the trailer for Flight Risk. I love Mel Gibson as a director, but if you didn't reveal what was revealed in that trailer, that will be a much more suspenseful movie. Now you kind of know what's going to happen. It's like, it boggles the mind, but I think our audiences now are just, they need that. They need that that visceral interaction. Tell me more. I don't care if I know everything. I'm still going to go. But when we wanted to go to a movie, you looked in the newspaper. There's the movie section. And Friday always had the biggest movie section. I'm kind of a nerdy collector, which is why I'm on this show and other shows. I still have newspapers from when Raiders of the Lost Ark came out. Old page ad, in the movie section. So I'm at 58. Maybe I can't fend off the pneumonia as good as I could at 48, but I'm glad I grew up in that era of the 70s and 80s. Yeah. And my dad was a big film buff, so he took my brother and I all the time, and we benefited from that. So, I think if you go back and watch an original Jaws trailer, some people might find it boring, or an original, Halloween trailer. Some might find it boring, but if you go listen to Halloween 2's trailer on the radio, it's pretty compelling, right? Yeah. So I think that's a lost art. I don't think we'll ever get that back. I mean, you can try to make a good trailer that way, but the studios will probably tell you, no, you got to show more. We need butts in the seats. So,
Yeah. Look, I agree with everything you've said. It's unfortunate but I mean, it's par for the course. I understand it. The expansion of technology and the ease of access, to how we consume media, how we communicate. It was inevitable, and it's not just in the movie sphere and things like that, but it was inevitable that it was going to go down that road. But I agree with you. It is for people who were unable to experience it, a life before, even not just a life before the internet, sure, but certainly social media. And if you were born in 1997 or 98, you have absolutely no recollection of a time before that. I mean, by the time you're 10 or 11 years old, you already have a smartphone in your hand. And so it was very, very different. And there was a mystique. There was it just makes me wonder. I think it's a very good question, and you bring up a lot of good points, especially, with the Empire. God, I mean, Luke, you're absolutely right. If Empire had come out today, we absolutely would have known. I mean, it would have leaked. There would have been all these channels nitpicking and, and overanalyzing. And yes, I know I've done that with Halloween. I'm not completely excluding me from the, excuse me, let me just look at this thing here. But there are also channels that are dedicated to it. I've done it with Halloween, sure. But there are channels that they, and I don't mean this in a disparaging way. I mean, I just mean that it's just facts. There are channels that spend, that the identity of their channels is either to tear something apart, usually to tear something apart. There are a few channels that might want to lift something up, but they tear something apart and they analyze and they could, I just finished watching, for example, and I don't want to get off on a huge tangent on this, but I just finished watching Skeleton Crew, the Star Wars show on Disney Plus. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was thoroughly entertained. No, it's not the, mature, cerebral Star Wars show that maybe a lot of fans want. But I thought it was very sweet. And yes, Goonies meets Star Wars, but I thought it was a good show. And apparently it was the lowest rated Star Wars show, out there in terms of viewers. Now that could also be because of some of the stuff that Star Wars has done recently. And that's not to say that there isn't valid points to some of the things that they've done or some of the directions they've gone. But my point is, I wonder how much of it is as awful as it is. Or is it awful, but not as awful because when you're told to hate something before a movie or a show even goes into production, that's a problem.
I mean, Siskel and Ebert will give it a thumbs up or thumbs down, but it wasn't a visceral, head cut. It wasn't it was either, this is why I didn't like it. They articulate why they didn't like it. And so you can make up your own mind still. It wasn't a chopping off a limb and hoping that everybody reads what you say. I think there's a lot of great reviewers online.
There are.
I mean, we all know them, and they're good about spoilers, and they're good about there's so many with Wham and Wolfman, Barry, Chris Stuckman, Jeremy Johns. There's a lot of guys that I like watching because they don't give away the movie, or they'll tell me spoilers, and then I can decide if I want to watch. But look at the time we had between when Halloween Kills actually came out. Because of COVID. Can I say that word anymore?
That's okay.
It might, but we had all that time for that thing to stew. It was done, and it was online and all these behind the scenes and everything else. And the story was out there, and it gets the best of you. Sometimes you want to know. But I can't imagine how it would have been back then having this media.
I can't. Brandon, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, if they had the type of media that we have now back in the 80s, they would have been calling Sarah Connor a Mary Sue by the time Terminator 2 came along. Like, how did this sweet girl develop all this stuff? This is just pandering, right?
Right.
They would have said the same thing about Ellen Ripley. I am very disheartened at the way we consume films nowadays. And I'm part of it as well. When you bring up Halloween, like we all on tons of different channels, we're analyzing those trailers frame by frame. We knew the entire story before we ever watched it. And, it's not a guarantee that we would have liked it had we gone in cold, but we're not doing ourselves any favors by doing that. We're at a point nowadays where for fans of things, it's impossible for us to enjoy it. Casual moviegoers do tend to go into things cold. That's why they make these franchise films that we all love for them and not us. Right. But we all know how the sausage is made to one degree or another. And so it's impossible for us to be happy with anything.
Yeah.
I was a big Star Wars fan. I'm no longer, and it has nothing to do with the quality of the product. It has everything to do with the garden variety Star Wars fan.
Right. Right.
You know, no wonder George Lucas sold it.
Right.
You know, and now all those people that hated George Lucas are, you know,
Oh, people
we
forget
wished he was back.
I was just gonna say, people forget that he was, you know, I mean, yeah, I'll just say that he was enemy number one for many years, and I know that there are people that, you know, I know there are people that say things like, you know, the sequels are awful and trash, and the prequels are great. And look, I mean, when the prequels came out, yes, of course, there were people that liked them, sure, but they were loathed. I know in retrospect, maybe they're getting a bit of love in retrospect. And all it's going to take is another trilogy to come out that's loathed. And then you look at the sequels and going, well, you know what? Actually, they're not that bad. They're okay. I mean, that seems to be the cyclical nature of how these things go. But no, I agree. Clint. Oh, yes. It was dreadful.
I mean, George Lucas, you know, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was the final nail in the coffin for him. You know, the reaction to that. Yeah. You know, and like you said, people go into these things wanting to hate them before they even see. I mean, Dial of Destiny is light years ahead of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I liked Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah,
but they wanted to hate it before they had ever seen any trailer for it.
Yeah,
you know?
and I think when it comes to that kind of thing, like with the Dial of Destiny, Oliver, are you able to mute your microphone? Or I'm wondering if my feedback's coming through yours.
Is it?
I'm not sure. Hello?
I'll mute it down.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's okay. I can mute you on this, and I can still hear it, but the audience won't hear it. So I'll mute you while I'm talking. But yeah, no, I can remember the Dial of Destiny. What was I going to say? I was going to say something now I forget. Maybe it'll come back. Something to do with the Dial of Destiny. But anyway, Clint, your thoughts, marketing.
So what I've noticed with critics though, they've gotten a lot better with reviewing like slasher horror movies. Like they're higher on Rotten Tomatoes than they used to be. Like, you know, Saw 27, like 88%, like whatever on Rotten Tomatoes. But they've gotten better at reviewing those types of movies. But I don't really watch trailers at all. I steer clear of them, not because I'm not, but I'm an absolute spoiler. People are going to hate me for this, so forgive me. But I'm watching a movie and I'll go to Wikipedia and start typing in, read the plot. Where am I at? Oh, this is coming next. I don't know when that happened. It happened.
Blasphemy.
And I'm like, what happened to me? Like, and now I can't do anything about it. I'm reading the plot before I even watch the movie now. Reading, okay, well, this is happening. I'm like, I don't know why. But
that happened with Billy too. He was watching it and then he thought, nah, I'm out.
Yeah. So yeah, I get where people are coming from with the you know, too much is revealed in a trailer or all that. But yeah, I'm too much of a spoiler guy now, and I wish I want to change. I want to change it, but it's gotten worse.
Oliver, what about you? How do you feel about marketing?
I think it's done totally backwards, to be totally honest. Where it's just revealing too much at the good wrong turn of the right, you know, where like people just like want to like you know, magnet themselves to feel like they want to be disappointed at, like, you know, just like that, you know, because they want to go into it just wrong, you know, and something that is a lost art, as everyone else has been talking about. Basically, it's a shame, really, massive shame, because the market just it's lost its you know, product, you know, whilst it's like just come out, you know, it's not even come out before, you know, I mean, it's just before it's even come out, it's just like they're heightening it up, and what's the point? Because they've lost the like mechanism to, like, you know, have that mystique,
right?
Like way back in the 80s and 90s, you know, or even before that, and then we're living in a certain like mold where the media just loves to sort of just generate themselves to like kill it.
Yeah.
I think at best, I think really,
Yeah.
and it's kind of ruining. And I think if it carries on, I think it will like ruin the company's name, really.
Well, I mean, it could
possibly.
It could. I think the thing that I find so. I think it just and look, some studios will reveal more in their trailers than others. Universal is known to be quite open with what they show in their trailers. But as Brandon pointed out, it's hard for the diehard fan to to sort of get this. But, as I've often said, they could create a Halloween trailer where all you see is just a black screen, you hear breathing, and then the title, Halloween. And everybody on this screen right now and everybody in the chat room right now would be there day one. So a lot of the marketing that they show and a lot of the spoilery stuff that they show obviously is for the casual movie-going fan. The movie-going fan that isn't quite up on everything, that maybe needs a little bit of that oomph, a little bit of that showmanship, a little bit of that spice to show this and show that and show this, because that's what entices them to go. If you hold your cards too close to the vest, it's not appealing. It's appealing to us because we understand the nuances. We understand all the idiosyncrasies and the subtleties of the genre and the franchise and the movie and the universe and the character and that's why you could just put out a poster that's just black with the white text Halloween. We'd be like, whoa, fuck yeah! Whereas the average person would be like, this is not really, I don't know what this really is. And so, to your point, it's spoiling. They show a lot in trailers. It's not for the fans, it's for the average moviegoer to get them to come, because we're already in. We're locked. You know what I mean? But the average moviegoer is not. And but like I said, some studios will be a little more revealing than others. But I miss the days when you knew very little. And to your point, Tim, I mean, there's some great movie, reviewers online. They're fantastic. And certainly this is not to throw shade at the movie reviewer, like the title, the movie reviewer. It's just the reality of the world we live in now, where we have this information at our disposal, where if we want to, so-and-so's talking about Wolfman. Let me just see what they're talking about. Whereas we wouldn't necessarily, unless you were catching Siskel and Ebert at their designated time on Channel 3 at 6:30 p.m., where they're going to, unless you caught them talking at that time, or maybe you happen to know your friend Bob, who went to see it last week, you had no idea what people thought of it. You had no idea what you were going to think of it. You had no idea. You really went in just with a poster in the back of a newspaper, maybe a bit of word of mouth from your friends. Oh, dude, you got to go see that. But other than that, that was it. That was literally it. And now it's everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. It's everywhere, and it's difficult to escape.
Yeah, I mean, I thought there have been some unique marketing campaigns, in the last 20 years, for like The Dark Knight, for instance. So how many of us went to see another movie and they played the first 10 or 12 minutes of The Dark Knight as the trailer? Remember that? The entire beginning.
Yeah, the
of the
IMAX trailer.
The bank robbery, all the way to Heath Ledger saying, whatever doesn't kill you makes you a stranger, right? That was the Dark Knight trailer if you went to a particular show. Now, that was unique. That was a real, I thought, great way to grab that audience by giving them just enough of how well that's going to be without giving away the farm. So I applaud those kinds of, even in modern day, those unique ways of bringing people in, but it's few and far between.
Here's the crazy thing though too, Tim, is that you just said modern day, and technically you're right. I mean, it wasn't even 20 years ago, but it was still 17 years ago. And it was
mind.
it was, sorry?
That blows my mind. 17 years ago.
17 years ago, 2008. And here's what's crazy about it. That was, I mean, social media is not what it is now, what it was then. I mean, Facebook was only a couple of years old. I mean, was anybody on Twitter in 2008? No. Was Instagram around? I don't think so. I don't think anybody had an Instagram account.
I was on MySpace.
MySpace. So even then, that kind of marketing, I agree with you. Could you even do that now? Could you even do that now?
Takes up too much time before the movie starts. I think they get a couple less trailers then, right? Because otherwise they can't pump 100 trailers out before your film starts. But I thought that was unique. But I remember when Heath Ledger was cast, and the internet was enough around where really people started ripping that casting at first, that he didn't have the chops. You know, he's a romantic comedy guy.
I was one of them.
Yeah, well, yeah, and he proved everybody wrong. But that was a pretty negative early social media kind of reaction to that casting. So yeah, it's been around, but
yeah,
not like it is.
I think, you know what, I think the only way really, and not to beat a dead horse with this, but I think the only way to sort of get that experience back is I don't think we can get it back as like a collective, like it is, because the world's not like that anymore. So I think the only way we can get it back is on an individual basis. Like I said, you know, at the top of the topic, which was like, and I encourage everybody in the chat or whoever watches afterwards, just try it. Try this once, because I know that this is not the world that we movie fans live in anymore. Like, we want to look something up. We go to Rotten Tomatoes, we go to Wikipedia, we read about it, then we read how it was made, then we go to this, and we know so much about the movie we're about to watch before we even start watching it. But I just try it. I know it's going to feel weird and awkward, especially if you're younger than us. If you're like, you know, in your early 20s or your late teens, you might be like, what the hell am I doing? This is so weird. But just try it. Just sit down, open up Netflix or Prime or Hulu or whatever you're on, and just find a movie that sounds interesting. Read the blurb. Just read the blurb, you know, and just go, that might, now maybe it'll be shit. Who knows? But I'm telling you, you might find a movie where you go, that was actually, like that film that I watched, which I still think is great. I knew nothing about it. I read the blurb. I was like, okay. And that is Incident in a Ghostland. Instant in a Ghostland. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Everybody in chat has seen it. I highly recommend it. Maybe you won't like it like I did, but I knew nothing about it. And it is bloody intense. And it's about these two girls who are teenagers with their mom. They move to this house in the middle of nowhere, and they are attacked. And it goes on from there, and it fast forwards into the future. But there's a twist that I never saw coming, and it just, my mouth dropped, and I was like, "Holy crap!" And that was just from a blurb on Netflix. I was like, "I'll check it out." You know what I mean? I encourage people to do that, because that's really the only. And then you might go online and be like, "Oh my God, everybody's tearing this to shreds," and then you have to ask yourself, had I looked into this, had I watched other people's reviews, had I found out about how this movie is hated, would I have hated it? Just subconsciously, would I have not enjoyed it as much? You know what I mean? I don't know. It's interesting. Interesting nonetheless. But Clint, Halloween time, folks. Clint, Friday the 13th versus Halloween. Friday the 13th versus Halloween. Supernatural versus flesh and blood killers. Final girls to kill them or not. Clint, the floor is yours.
Well, first of all, I love both of them. So I actually, Dave, I saw a chat of yours when you were talking about Halloween, and you were talking, no, Friday 13th, and you were talking about, you're ranking them, I think. And I agree with you 100%. So this is kind of how I got the topic. You basically ranked the first four as, you know, the good films and the rest trash. And I pretty much agreed with that assessment. I don't ever watch anything past 4. I rarely even watch 4. It's not one of my favorites. 1 and 2 are, to me, are just really great, perfect slash movies.
Now that's pretty cool because we don't normally hear people say how much they like Friday the 13th Part 1.
I love it.
Amazing.
One of my all-time favorites.
Amazing.
And it's now fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. It is now fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. It clawed its way up to respectability. It's getting love now finally. To me, it's like Halloween. It's simple. It's but it's scary. I like the characters, and it has really great kills. And I mean, that twist at the end was Mrs. Voorhees. I mean, and then Alice chops her head clean off. I mean, she wasn't coming back.
No,
there was going to be no zombie Mrs. Voorhees.
No.
Well, who knows? What do you know?
Well, you never know.
You never know.
Came back as a force ghost.
There you go.
Exactly. So yeah, and I mean, I agree with everything you said. Because of course, Jason became a zombie pretty much after that, right? He was, whatever. It was a zombie, and so it went from this thing is in the woods, and he, how did he live out there? He's killing all these people to avenge his mother, and okay, that's pretty scary. If I were, it would make me think twice about going camping, and even though it's implausible he could get an axe in the head and live, but he did have hydrocephaly, so who knows? But
Never know.
So same thing with Halloween 1. Halloween 1, and Halloween 2, just very simple, very the good build up, good character development, things like that. Just all around good filmmaking. Good score. Of course, we're going to talk about scores later.
Yep.
And Friday 13th had a great score. Was it Frank Mancuso or whatever his name? Fantastic.
Manfredini.
Yeah, fantastic score. So both of them had great scores. So they're just, I like simple in my horror movies, just very simple. So when I heard you in the chat, I'm like, you're saying everything I think. So that kind of got me onto, I found you through the Black Christmas thing, because I'd seen Black Christmas for the first time in 2018 and blew me away. I can't believe I'd never heard of it before then. Like I went online, someone was like, hey, I need some good Christmas movies. They're like, you like horror movies? I'm like, well, yeah, of course I do. And they're like, you want to watch a Black Christmas? And I thought, okay, if I've never heard of it by now, and I was born in '86, so I mean, I was, 32 at the time. 32. So I'm thinking, if I haven't heard of it by now, it's probably not that good.
I find that people either really love Black Christmas or don't like it at all. I find there's no in between.
Yes. And I found that out when I recommended it to a few people, loved or they did not like it. And what they didn't like about it is what I loved about it. But one of the things was the ending. They a lot of people were mad. Well, who was the killer? Why didn't they show the killer? What happened to Jess? Well, I love that personally. I thought that was brilliant. It left me going like, holy crap! They left this girl in the house. They didn't even check the damn attic. And she's just laying there, and the phone's ringing, and that's all you hear as it fades out, which just was beautiful. And again, like I just loved your reason why I became an associate producer for part 2. I loved your part 1. Brilliant filmmakers. I got to give you your due for that. You do everything I like people to do for a horror movie.
Oh, thanks.
Nowadays,
I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, so that's why I became associate producer, because I was like, you earned every buck that I spent. So so for me, I when the killer, like Michael Myers, and when they redid it in 2018, great. He didn't take too many blows that a normal person couldn't take, or and then Kills comes along, and holy crap, did Michael Myers get the absolute shit beat out of him. And it just took me completely out of the movie. I just thought, oh, this is so stupid. So I was because I mean, I'm not gonna be scared of a guy that's a zombie. I mean, it's just, and I like supernatural stuff. I can get scared with, The Entity is one of my favorite movies of all time. Very, very creepy and scary. I love watching the TV show Haunting, which is super, super terrifying. I find it's one of the scariest TV shows. And, so supernatural I can deal with, but I like my killers to be, something that I could feel like Terrifier. I didn't even know about Terrifier until COVID. And so I watched it. Art the Clown was terrifying. He earned the nickname Terrifier. Terrifying. Movie was great. Ending, it did hint at something supernatural, but I thought, okay, I didn't know there was a part 2 at the time. Then part 2, so I watched part 2, hated it. Not only was he supernatural, but the final girl, spoiler alert, was supernatural. Like, what? I did like part 3 a little bit better. But to me, it just takes me out of the experience. So
by the sounds of it, it sounds like you really, lean more into the, maybe not full on, like there's flesh and blood and then there's supernatural, but maybe do you like to have a little bit of that question mark around your flesh and blood? Like you prefer it, like, do you prefer a killer that is full on flesh and blood, not supernatural at all? Or do you like there a little bit of a question mark around him?
Probably more full on flesh and blood. Maybe a tiny bit of, there's crazy psychotic people that have supernatural abilities, for a short amount of time, supernatural strength, whether it's adrenaline or whatever, or they're on drugs, psychotic. I could buy that. I can buy that for, the Michael Myers or Jason, out of their minds. They're psychotic. They have this superhuman strength for a while, more so than supernatural. And there's some supernatural. I can buy just like a tiny bit, a hint maybe, not when their flesh is falling off of them and they're coming out with a machete and they're
gotcha.
Yeah, that. But so it leads me on to the final girl thing real fast. I'll just throw that in there. They have some really good. So Friday the 13th. When I watched part 1, oh man, Alice kicked ass. No man came to help her. So Alice doesn't get the love as a final girl I think she should, because no man came to help Alice.
Ooh, I've heard people say that.
She took care of business all on her own, and she went blow to blow with Ms. Voorhees, and she was smart. She tried to get a gun. She of course she hid. She grabbed objects that could actually knock someone out versus grabbing a spoon or something like that. She, the rifle in the crotch to Mrs. Voorhees is one of my favorite. So, and then part 2 comes along. I'm like, oh, why is she in the beginning? This is odd. The final girl from the last movie. Oh crap! A nice pick to the temple. But it was, I will say, it was a great kill. It was it was a very long 15 minutes, which is unusual for movies. The introduction being that long, but it really set up the movie perfectly. And it was very shocking that they killed off the final girl. I was upset because I'm like, I wish she'd have put up a little more fight. But in her defense, the cat ruined everything. She was ready. She had the ice pick ready. I think she'd have put up a good fight with Jason, but that cat spoiled. She thought it was the cat making the noise. And,
yep.
But there's someone found some outtakes of the actual uncut kills, so that Friday 13th it could get an R rating. And if you haven't seen her actual full kill, it's quite disturbing.
I've heard about this. I haven't seen it, but I've heard about this footage. Yeah.
I won't spoil it for anyone, so people can go look it up. It's if you search Friday 13th Part 2 uncut kills, you'll find it right away. I found that one pretty disturbing. I'm glad they cut that part. The other kills, they should have left them in. They were really good. So for me, like, if they made a Black Christmas 2 right after the first one, I don't want Jess to live. I wanted Jess to kick ass. Jess also, no man came to help her. She took care of business. She was smart. She was, when she, everybody said, why'd she run upstairs? That was pretty stupid. But she wanted her friends to live. Yeah. She was trying to help her friends. And so to me, I didn't see it so much as a stupid thing. I saw it as a very brave decision on her part to put her life in danger to save her friends.
That's it.
She wasn't doing something stupid like, oh, I hear a noise after they told me this guy's calling, and she's like, I'm gonna go upstairs. She went to save her friends. So to me, I didn't feel like that was a stupid thing. So I would have been, I would have wanted Jess to live. Which, can we do spoil? Can we spoil?
Of course.
Part 2? Yeah. So Jess does live, and then she ends up killing Billy in the end. So that was, and the way she killed him with the fire poker was really awesome. Seeing that crazy eye at the very end. So
yeah, that was very important to us because we had long talks about that. Does Sam kill Billy? I mean, Sam is the one on the desk with Billy choking her, and is it Sam? But Sam killed Agnes, and we realized, and it was Victoria that actually said this during one of our production meetings. She said, I feel, and she's like, we were leaning that way anyway, but to hear her say this. Mm-hmm. Was just confirmation of that. She says, I feel that, Agnes is my monster and Billy is Jess's monster in this sort of, situation. Cause Agnes is the one that chloroformed Sam, right. And knocked her out and dragged her into the basement. And so we gave the Agnes kill to Sam. And then of course it only made sense to have it come full circle to give the kill to Jess, and obviously to do it with a fire poker. And so if you're not familiar with Black Christmas and you don't really know it, then some of these little details are not going to mean anything to you and they're going to go over your head. It's just like, okay, the grandma killed the guy with the fire poker. But there's a lot of symbolism around it in the sense of that it's sort of, completing what she had started. Right, which was she had the fire poker in the original. She couldn't get the job done then. She grabs the fire poker in this and she actually gets the job, removing the symbol, which is basically Billy's heart. It's not his heart, but for all intents and purposes, you remove the symbol of him, which is the eye, and so it was a lot of, I'm glad that you picked up on that and appreciated that because it was a lot of, it only made sense. I don't think it would have felt right had Billy or had Sam killed Agnes and Billy. Now, had Jess been dead, well, yes, of course, then, she's left to her own devices. But with Jess there, it only made sense for her to come in and finish what she had started 50 years ago. But anyway, I digress. Continue, Clint.
And it was the eye that she saw through the door too. So
that's right.
That was great. Yeah, it was beautiful, perfect. So looking at like Laurie Strode. I saw another chat of yours. You were doing Scream, so let's do Sydney Prescott. And you, I think you were talking about Scream 5 or 6, and you said they had to kill off one. They needed to kill off one of the legacy characters, right? I mean, I agree. It was probably time, but I did not want it to be Gail Weathers. I think Gail Weathers is another final girl that doesn't get her due because she's been a final girl in every single Scream movie, and Sydney was not a final girl in the last one. So,
but if she does die, she has to go. Gail Weathers signing off.
She really does, and I really have a feeling that it's going to be Gail's last movie, the next one.
I hope so.
Fine. I don't want them to kill her off, but I have a feeling she may be the opening possibly, but I have a feeling she's going to go. But anyway, yeah, so to me, I'm just sentimental with the final girl. I don't want them to be killed off later if they come back for a sequel. Now, if it's an original movie, and I'm all for if you have an original movie and the killer kills everybody, I'm okay with that.
Right.
I'm okay if they don't. If they actually don't have a final person in it. I think that I think I've seen a few like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my long-winded take on.
It's all good, man. It's all good. So, 2 questions before I hand it over to everybody. Who is your favorite final girl, and who between Friday the 13th and Halloween, what series do you lean towards?
Favorite final girl. I'm gonna have to go OG Laurie Strode probably.
Okay, all right.
Just because
Classic.
she took it. I know. I really wish they'd have kept the original H2O and then went on to the 18 kills and ends. I think the Laurie Strode in H2O made a lot more sense than the Laurie Strode in 2018. This is my opinion. I think that would have been a great follow-up if she, then the Laurie in 2018 made more sense if she went that crazy knowing that she killed somebody thinking it was Michael, and they caught him and put him in prison, and then you could still have almost the same exact movie in 2018, in my opinion. But I do love Alice just because I don't think she's enough love for Friday 13th. I think no one came to help her.
Oh, geez.
Laurie actually had a lot of help. Laurie, I think probably she would have survived, but I mean, Dr. Loomis saved her ass.
That's true.
So it could be argued that she'd have been a goner. So I kind of, I like Alice for that part. But she did get in the second one, though.
Cool. And Friday or Halloween in terms of series?
Halloween for sure. I mean, just more consistent,
right.
Way more consistent. The quality, even I'm not a huge fan of like the middle ones without Strode in it. But yeah, the Halloween for sure.
Gotcha. Gentlemen, so Brandon, I mean, Flesh and Blood, Supernatural, Friday or Halloween? Give me your thoughts.
I lean towards wanting a Flesh and Blood killer. I think they're scarier. I'm not a believer in my personal life of anything supernatural. So Flesh and Blood human beings scare me a lot more. As far as the franchises go, I mean, these are original posters. I saw Halloween when I was 6 years old, and I've been chasing the high my whole life. Laurie Strode is my final girl because she's resourceful. She's, she's a bookworm. She's, she's unlike the other girls. I love Friday the 13th. I love both those franchises more than I love Elm Street. But Friday the 13th is fun. It's kind of brainless in a lot of the entries, but Halloween has never
1 second, Brandon.
To embrace
1 second.
camp.
1 second. I don't know if I'm getting some feedback. I don't know if it's coming from you or Oliver.
I have everything muted.
Everything muted?
Yeah, not from me.
Not from you. Oliver, do you have anything up, or can you try muting your microphone,
I don't know
Oliver?
what's going on.
Can you mute your microphone, Oliver?
Which one is it? Is it the one that's not the actual...
Yeah.
That one?
Oh. Are you talking still? I can still...
I just muted it now. Then did it go through?
Yeah. If you can just mute until I start talking to you, I think that would help. Let's try that.
Okay.
I think it's probably coming from you because you have the speakers on. Sorry, Brandon, continue.
No. It's
No, it's still there.
Like,
I think. Sorry, hang on. Oliver, are you there? Okay, 1 second. No, it's okay. It's okay, Oliver. Okay, we'll try. Okay. Fuck it. We'll do it live. Fuck it. We'll do it live.
I'll write it.
I'll write it, and you just do it. All right, I don't care. Well, fucking
sucks.
This fucking thing sucks. God damn it. Fuck!
The best.
Christ! All right, and sit down and shut up, you fucking piece of shit! Anyway, go ahead, Brandon.
To play us out. What does that even mean?
To play us out? What does that mean to play us out? It just means that you're gonna say goodbye to everybody. Oh, just do it! God damn it! Go ahead, Brandon.
And that'll do it. And here with a cut off their next album is
Sting.
Like Casey Kasem doing a death notification after a song or something. Yeah.
And that'll do it for me. Good night, everybody. See you later.
Jackass.
I don't know where the feedback is coming from. We'll just work through it. Go ahead, Brandon.
No, it's all right. I think I pretty much said what I needed to say about Halloween and Friday the 13th. Halloween is my Star Wars. You know, it's my Rushmore.
Of course. And your favorite final girl?
Lori. I mean, I saw her when I was 6 years old. I saw that film and I wanted her to be my babysitter because, she was just so strong and resourceful and she could protect me. And when I was 16, I saw True Lies and I really wanted her to be my babysitter.
Well, did you see her with...
I don't want her to be my babysitter anymore.
And you know what I was going to say? Well, they
I know exactly what you're going to say.
On Jimmy Fallon, they reenacted the. I mean,
Perfect.
it's for a grandma. I'm just saying.
I would hang out with her, give her one of these.
Right, of course, fist bumps. Oliver, do you prefer flesh killers or supernatural killers? And who's your favorite final girl?
My out of the Halloween and Friday.
Yes, between Friday and Halloween, which do you prefer? Well, first of all, do you prefer like real killers or like a supernatural kind of thing?
To me, it's more the physical, real person that can be a killer. That's more scarier because in the fact that they could actually go into your house.
Right.
It's more like you could be sleeping in your bed. You don't know what's going on, do you? See what I mean? Then you attack. To me, that's more to like the actual like physical like strain on the psyche and in your mind. That you have to be physically on the mark. Unless if you're not on your mark, you're going to be dead.
Right.
With a supernatural, it's just it's in the sort of like dream state of like not real.
Gotcha.
Even though it's sort of like physically intimidating, it's not scary.
Gotcha.
As much.
Okay. And Friday or the Friday the 13th series or the Halloween series?
I would say it's funny. I would have to go with Halloween, but it's a strange one because sometimes I actually gravitate to watching Friday, a lot more Friday films, if that makes any sense. I mean, I miss, what is it? 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe going off then. But with Halloween, I'll get more enjoyment with Halloween. I don't know. It's quite complicated.
I gotcha. No, I gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha. And favorite final girl of all time from any movie. Favorite final girl.
Do you know what?
Laurie Strode.
It's always been
Jamie Lee Curtis on Jimmy Fallon.
I'll have to go with Heather Langenkamp. Nancy.
That's a good one.
That's the ultimate final girl to me. I mean, growing up watching Nancy, Heather Langenkamp's character, that's like justified through her struggle.
Yeah.
But there's always that mystique with that character anyway. So it's intriguing with the state of play with Nancy's character. If like the whole thing was a nightmare. So
I agree. I've always been a big fan of Nancy. She actually is one of my favorite final girls. Could be my favorite actually, because I think she she's the epitome of sort of the archetype of a final girl. She has the, not that there aren't others that are, you know, good too, but there's something, she has the girl next door, cuter features rather than the bolder features. You know, it's a stereotype, but she has it. She fits the mold. And then she's, you know, fights back. She's resilient. She's a great final girl.
And it's
so
a
she's definitely one of my
believable
favorites.
fight back. I think, you know, it's kind of almost believable. You know, you can't. It doesn't take you out.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. That's it. Tim, are you there?
Paging Tim.
I believe he said he lost his connection.
Oh, did he lose his connection?
Yeah.
Oh, he said he lost his connection. Okay, well, no worries, Tim.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, he's back. 1 second. He said, "Fuck it," and we're gonna do it live. That's what he said. He is back. There he is. Let me see if I can get Tim back into the system here. 1 second. Which one was he? I think he was this one. No. He was this one. No. He was this one. No. He must have been one down here. There we go. Okay. Let's see if we can get Tim back into the system. There he is. Tim, you're back. Flesh and Blood Killers, Friday or Halloween, favorite final girl. Oh, Tim's gone. I agree, Tim. I agree. I think, you know, I couldn't have said it better myself. I think
Good one. That's a good one, Tim.
That's a good one, Tim. Or is, you know, I don't think so, Tim.
Terrible choice.
We can go with mine. I don't know.
That's just awful. That's just awful. Josh McKenna sent in
I do like Nancy. I want to say I do. Yeah, Nancy. Nancy has a special place in my heart for sure. Absolutely.
Nancy is great. Nancy is great. Wait, I think he's back again. 1 second. He is back again. Hang on a sec. Let me get you in there. You're not back yet. We're going to put you into the system here. And you are, ladies and gentlemen, Tim is back, Tim. All right. So Friday or Halloween, favorite final girl, and Supernatural or Flesh and Blood.
I'm just kidding. Halloween. It's going Halloween for me because of it's more nostalgia. I saw, you know, that when I was a kid, and nobody knew what a final girl was back then. We just knew that Jamie's character made it through the first one, and that sequel, I can tell you, was so anticipated when that came out. I was 13, I think, or 12 or whatever. So it seemed like 1 and 2 were a complete film. I remember my friends and I kind of wondering, looking at Michael Myers in part 2, why are his pants shorter? And why did he walk like a zombie where he didn't walk that way in the first one? We kind of wondered because we didn't know it was a different actor. And we kind of decided he took so many rounds. He went from being human to being, you know, immortal, or at least. And that was the way we sold it to ourselves, where he still has that human quality, but he's now a different being than he was in the first movie. Dave knows this. Dave knows this about me. I spent 30 years in law enforcement for different agencies. Went to an academy of a 3-letter agency, the federal one that I won't mention, but had a blast. But when I was younger, looking at films and I think a lot of people in my position do, it's hard to dispense your belief. Hey, John Saxon and Black Christmas, why didn't you search the house? That attic is a pretty easy thing to go find with a bunch of your cops, you know. I could do a YouTube channel on my, you know, how movies, I spoiled them for myself because I go, that was stupid. We'd never do that, you know, on my department, or, you know. Where Halloween, when it came out, it's the 70s. Law enforcement wasn't as modern as it is now. They didn't have the tactics and the wherewithal and all the science and technology. So you could believe one human killer could terrorize a small town and a small sheriff's department. And 2 just got a little bit out of hand. But Halloween Kills, it took place in the modern time. I have had to deal with people that were homicide suspects and people that were bad people. Nothing scares you more than someone who is real. So Halloween always registered with me. Halloween Kills, yeah, it was entertaining as hell. But there would be so many law enforcement in that town, federal and state, local helicopters. There's no way that guy would get away. There's just no way. He's the character he is, so we have to play it out that way. I have a hard time watching two cops talk about what they're going to eat and then end up, with their heads in each other's laps. But, that's just me.
Christopher Nelson, ladies and gentlemen.
But right. Friday the 13th, the first one I saw at a drive-in in Door County, Wisconsin, when I was staying with a friend on their farm for the summer. That scared the hell out of us because we had to go back to the farm at night. And nothing scarier than a barnyard at night when the moon's out. And that was a visceral reaction as a nostalgic as a little kid. So I liked the first one for the mood and atmosphere it had. Jason became silly. When Canon Films started producing them, it's okay. They're getting really dumb. I liked the first two. After that, they kind of there's fun elements of 3 and 4. But I was going to stop watching them. I just, got out of it. But when H2O came out, that was exciting because one, Josh Hartnett was from St. Paul. And, that was kind of fun to see a hometown kid in a movie. And Jamie Lee Curtis was back, and that was big. Halloween 4, I liked the mood and atmosphere. I thought it was probably one of the best ones, honestly, since the first two. But as a young hardliner kid watching the first two, I couldn't get over the mask. And now it grows on me a little more. But I have one of those Don. I got it in '85. The Don Post came out with his version of that mask back then. It's old. It's starting to it's starting to get in bad shape. But everybody wanted to have that mask, right?
Yeah, it's true. And you couldn't get it. It was so difficult.
Oh, yeah. And now, Trick or Treat Studios, you can get really nice masks. So
yeah.
Final Girl is Jamie because they didn't consider her a final girl. She just survived. Nobody talked about that as a term back then.
Well, it's funny because
kind of like,
yeah, the term final girl, I don't think was a thing until the early 90s. And I think it came down in the form of a book by, I forget her name now. It's a woman author. And she wrote a book called something, something, something in Chainsaws or something like that. So Blood, Guts, Slashers, and Chainsaws, something like that. And I believe, I stand to be corrected, but I believe that is where the term final girl was first sort of coined, if you will. Let me just do a quick, hang on, final girl. Final girl. For those of you that might be interested in this, usage of the term. The original meaning of final girl as described by, that would have been, hang on a sec. Let me just put a Control F and do chainsaw here. There. That's cool. Oh, God, we got that. No, that's not right. Final girl term. It was a book. I'm pretty sure it was a book. Usage of the term.
Carol J. Clover.
You've got it, Brandon.
Her body, himself, gender in the slasher film, 1987.
There was I thought there was another one though. I thought there was another one. I thought there was something. Yeah, the final girl, survivor girl. I'm pretty sure there was something else. Book, chainsaw, something like that. Maybe this is the book I'm thinking of. Men, Women, and Chainsaws, Gender and Modern Horror Film, 1993. I thought that was the book. I stand to be corrected. I thought that was the book where the term final girl was first sort of coined, but I could be wrong on that.
They're two very common words,
Yeah.
somebody could probably legitimately claim
Yeah.
that they did it before.
Either
but you're
or, it
probably
was
right.
either the
Yeah.
87 book or the 93 book. It wasn't a common term that was around, certainly when the bulk of these movies were being released. Nobody called Nancy a final girl. Nobody called, Jess a final girl or Lori a final girl. That's in retrospect years later. So, it's interesting. Sorry, Tim, you said your favorite final girl was Lori, right?
Yeah, just because I think for the time age I was, and those two movies were a perfect set of bookends, so to speak.
Of course.
It had that effect on me because, to me, if something could happen for real, it's scary. Jason couldn't happen for real; he would have drowned, right? When he gets really going and goes to space and all that stuff, it's kind of how the Roger Moore James Bond movies got carried away,
right?
And then Daniel Craig kind of brought him back a little bit. But I had that problem with Silence of the Lambs. Honestly, when I saw that, I almost got up and walked out of Silence of the Lambs. I'm going to have
really
a YouTube channel
interesting.
I'm going to talk about how I have a hard time, or I've had a hard time. I'm better now, but the book's a thriller and it has to be, unrealistic to a certain extent.
Right.
But when you film it at the FBI Academy and you put that kind of heart into it, and the guy's so dangerous, you have to put him on a dolly with a and have him surrounded by 25 armed cops. But yet when they're going to feed him, there's 2 unarmed guys that open the cage up and nobody else is around with a rifle. Why would you do that? It's like
I
and then he
understand.
just puts the guy up like this, and he's like, okay, that jumped the shark. Of what I thought was otherwise a pretty smart movie, but it's the way it is. It's movies. I got to just let myself.
It's the
go
movies.
once in a while.
Sometimes it can be hard.
I feel like looking violent, so I have escapes.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Oliver Mercer, favorite movie scores. Oliver, yeah. I know this list was hard for you. It was tricky, but you were able to do it. You had to be decisive and pick your favorite movie scores. But first, before you tell us your favorite movie scores, give us your honorable mentions. The floor is yours.
Well, my honourable mention outside of the top 5 would be a little, is it a Canadian series? Maybe it is, kind of. Are You Afraid of the Dark? The theme tune to that. It's creepy as heck.
Okay. A little out left field, not expected, but I think it is Canadian. I think. I could be wrong
to
on
a
that,
degree it is. I believe it is.
Oh.
I've heard different stories, actually, where it's said it's been filmed in Canada, but then other situations where it's in America. I don't know.
Maybe they went back and forth. Maybe they filmed in both countries. Who knows?
It's very difficult. So I'm going to go from 5 to 1.
So this is your top 5 from 5 to 1. All right, here we go.
So 5. This is from what is it? Rachel and Wendy. The scores, the score ladies, should I say? From 1980s, The Shining. Yeah.
Now, is this like a specific score or just the score overall in the movie?
The score overall, but you could always pin that score when it actually just comes in. The most noticeable. Fuck it! Just gravitates into your mind, doesn't it? And it just sticks.
It does. Sorry, I was getting all tingly.
Yeah.
I had to. Great choice. The Shining is fantastic. And
number 4, I don't know who did this score. It's from 1907. Yeah. Well, I think it's something. Maybe. Or what is it? Something with Halloween. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Might be a little movie Halloween.
Yeah, well, we all know. I can't say the
right.
scorist because we all know who he is.
True. Okay, so 5, The Shining. 4, the original Halloween theme.
Yeah. And number 3 is 1990s from Barry D. Is it Vozon? Anyway, Exorcist 3,
Ooh, Exorcist
which
3.
I think is pretty underrated.
Oh.
Score-wise.
Oh.
I mean, the film is underrated, but the score is even more.
The film is bloody fantastic. I have to go check this out, the score again. But okay, all right, good choice, good choice.
Yeah. And number 2 is Bursden Heselton. Oh, anyway, it's Psycho, 1960.
Yes.
Yeah, that just gravitates to it's obviously the most iconic score is probably in history, but
it's a great score. But not just the wee. I mean, like the score,
it's pinned in everyone's generation. I think it's probably more generations than any other, probably.
Yeah, it's a great score. It's a great score. So that's 5 is The Shining, 4 is Halloween, 3 is Exorcist 3.
Yeah, that's right.
2 is what did you just say now? I forget.
Psycho.
Yeah. That's it. Having a brain fart. And number 1, your number one favorite score, Oliver Mercer. This is your number one favorite score.
Can't pronounce the name of the score. I think it's
Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah. Charles, I think Charles Bronson or Spurston or like what it was. Anyway, 1984's A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I think it's Charles something. Anyways, the score's been
A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, listen, that's a good list. That's a good list.
Yeah.
A few ones in there that I would not expect, like The Exorcist 3. I did not expect. But that's good. That's a good list. A Nightmare on Elm Street is a great score. You know what? Who also A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 score is absolutely fantastic. It might even be a little bit better than the original. I'm just saying, I love the
it's small pieces. Yeah, I can see that.
It opens.
It's very dark.
See
very eerie.
Yes, and you see like the street.
Dylan. It brings you into the atmosphere. What's really going to happen to the next scene, and whatever. Especially in that bus. Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's Robert Englund driving the bus too. Yeah, it is. It's Robert Englund. If you see him when he opens the bus, it's Robert Englund.
Yes, Robert Englund.
It's Robert Englund.
Crazy to think about.
Clint, what do you think of Oliver's list, and what are some of your favorite scores?
Really good list. I do have a question for you, Oliver. What did you think of the updated Halloween score in 2018?
Oh, from his godsons, isn't it, as well? It's top notch. I mean, it's just right there to right next to it, through what John Carpenter brought to the table with the original Halloween, I think, and probably to a massive degree, I think it's probably even in places, I think it's even better than the original score. That's a hot take, I think. Sometimes,
I listen. The David Gordon Green trilogy has its issues, but one thing it excelled on. Two things especially. It excelled on especially. Well, maybe 3. Maybe we put 3, but the third one you could debate. Well, I don't know. You could debate the third one. 3 things it excelled on, and 1 and 2 more than the last one. The first thing it excelled on was the score. The score in all 3 films I thought was top notch. I mean, nobody's like, "Oh, it was kind of crap." Nobody says that about the score. The second thing it excelled on was the mask. For the first time in however many decades, they got the mask right.
Hell yeah.
And
But
then
as crazy as I have heard some people moan about the score actually with the new David Gordon Green's trilogy, as crazy as that is.
well, they don't know their ass from their elbow.
Oh,
So
no,
and then
People
you have
hate everything.
Yeah.
and then
Oh,
the
yeah,
third
that's
thing they excelled at, but you could debate, maybe it doesn't work for some people, is James Hugh Courtney as Michael Myers. I thought he did
absolutely.
a tremendous job.
Yeah.
Whether you like
The
the
best,
story, the direction,
Since
the
40
characters,
odd years.
the Evil Dies Tonight, whatever, that's all up for debate. But the mask, the score, and Myers, I think, were at least three things they excel, and they are three things that they needed to be, to excel at. Anyway, sorry.
Maintenance on it that they had to get past by, and they excelled in it.
That's it. Clint, take it away.
Yeah, so I haven't seen I don't think I've ever seen Exorcist 3, so I'm gonna have to check that out.
Ooh, you
Wow,
gotta check it out.
really?
Yeah, I saw The Shining not too long ago, so but yeah, it's iconic. Of course, Psycho, absolutely. Yeah, that's of course, Halloween. Great. That's a great list. Yeah, and Nightmare on Elm Street, absolutely. Just really sets the tone for that film, and really, honestly, a lot of the scares in the film. So that was a good list.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Brandon, some of your favorite scores, man.
Well, that list was great. I would also say Halloween. Obviously, I'm a homer. But
He makes no apologies, folks.
yeah, I mean, Halloween could come in and slap me upside the head and just say, "All right, I still love you." I'm the opposite of most people who are like, "Oh, I want a good I just want a lot of Halloween movies. But favorite scores. John Williams Superman, John Williams everything during that 8-year period when he just controlled the movies. Ennio Morricone, Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and The Mission. John Barry, Dances with Wolves is a fantastic score. One of the most beautiful things ever put on, ever put on film. And there's a score for an Italian film called Il Postino by Luis Bacalov. It's definitely a top 5 for me.
Amazing. And what are your thoughts on, like, between the Elm Street score? Because Friday the 13th kind of has a score, but I mean, obviously,
Friday the 13th has a great score.
It does.
Or the third one, the part 3, the disco score is just
There's a video right there. I should just upload a video of myself doing that. Yeah, it does. It does have a great score. I really like of course, it's kick ma ma ma, known as ch ha ha ha. But in the first couple Friday the 13th movies, especially the opening of that very first Friday the 13th movie, the original Friday the 13th movie, when it's the POV shot of Mrs. Voorhees, it's 1958, and she's walking through the cabin, and it's the POV, and you hear it's just ding 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 ding.
And you hear that ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, it's eerie. And what's really
when
creepy,
they're looking across the lake and they think they see something.
Yes.
Like you see her hand.
Yes. It loses its...
Why do people shit on that movie? I'm sorry.
They do?
Like, I get it. Like, it's a whodunit and you don't find out, like, okay, yeah, but it's eerie as fuck.
It is.
Like, that movie it's all mood, all atmosphere. You know, and this is coming from somebody who loves part 2, 4, and 6 more than the first one.
Yeah.
But still, the first one is amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's I mean, yeah, I think I think because Jason's not in it, right? It gets a bad rap, and the end sequence is a little slow. There's about 15 minutes where we watch Alice make some tea or soup or something, and that is that is a little bit slow. And I don't like the fact, as an animal lover, although I know this is not really, this is more of a lizard, but like I don't like the fact that they actually kill the real snake.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that they took a snake and they actually, when you see them chopping the snake, they actually that's real. They actually murdered a snake.
I didn't know that.
On camera, yes.
Oh, speaking of animal death, the score for Cannibal Holocaust is amazing.
Ooh, Cannibal Holocaust. I gotta watch that.
Yeah.
I gotta watch that. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the rest. What the did the snake have a name? I don't think. You know what? I'm gonna make a meme.
Stubby.
I'm gonna make a meme, and he's known as this moment forward as Greg the Snake, and I'm just gonna. He's got to have a human name. Greg. You know, one syllable human name. Greg, Dave, Bob. You know, Steve. You know, and it's just rest in peace, Steve. Rest in peace.
I mean,
Steve.
we could just call him Jake the Snake.
Well, that's true. That's true. Who sounds like Macho Man now when he speaks. Tim, your favorite movie scores of all time?
I have to go with Jaws. I mean, just for the influence it had on me. Honestly, Jaws 2, I think, is superior in a way because John could have a lot more fun with that, with the sailboats, and he had different. I listened to Jaws 2 almost more than I listened to Jaws 1. The original Friday the 13th, I make a habit. I live on 5 acres in the woods, about 40 minutes out of Minneapolis.
Ooh.
And in the fall, when I'm doing yard work, my headphones are on. That's Dave. I listen to your show a lot doing work. I will have the Friday the 13th soundtrack on, and I kid you not, as it's getting dark, I can creep myself out, being out in the woods. So it's very effective. I'm a big fan of Jerry Goldsmith, Alien, that track. John Barry was Dances with Wolves, amazing. And he did a lot of the back then. And
It is.
he did King Kong in '76, and that was a good soundtrack too for Barry. I'm also a really fan of Lalo Schifrin, Bullet. That is one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. It has a jazz, feel to it.
Yes.
Enter the Dragon. He was hot back then. Schifrin was. The theme to Starsky and
Lalo
Hutch shows I used to watch. Yep, Lalo Schifrin. And the composer Dirty Harry, another great jazz kind of soundtrack, non-horror obviously, but those are really good soundtracks I'll go to all the time. Horror is Halloween probably. The original, just because of how it perfectly fits, like Jaws perfectly fits that film for John Williams.
Yeah.
And a lot of John Carpenter scores I enjoy. And Psycho. Somebody said Psycho.
Yeah.
Is that Bernard Herrmann, I think?
Oliver said Psycho.
And I believe the Friday the 13th composer took a lot. I think he took inspiration from Psycho, from that sound. For some of his songs. But yeah, I mean, you find yourself listening to the same 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 all the time, which is great. I mean, you can escape to your childhood. You can escape to a different part of your life. Music is really important that way for me. So
it's true.
Powerful, yeah.
Great choices. Great choices. No, look, I agree. I mean, some of mine obviously are. I mean, there's just too many to name, really. But some of mine, obviously, Jaws, of course, the original Halloween, of course, Elm Street, of course. I would also throw. Well, I guess it's a. Are we talking about? There's scores and then there's themes, right? And I mean, the Superman theme is one of the most iconic themes of all time. And I stand by what I said not too long ago on social media, which was, I think I even said it here on the channel, which is I think they should bring that back. Not a version of that, not a electric guitar version of it. Bring it back in all its orchestral is even a word? Orchestra glory, you know, all of its original, bombastic, you know,
100% yes.
Bring it back because, and I think there's this, I know it was used, I think it was used in the Superman Returns with, what's his face? Routh. I know this DC film is not connected to that original series. I understand that. But that Superman theme, and I've said this, and this may be blasphemous for some people, not that I don't love this theme. I do love it. But there is something about the Superman title theme that I think I like more than the title theme to Star Wars. The title theme to Star Wars is great. Don't get me wrong. You know, it's great. But the Superman theme, I mean, when you hear that trumpet or whatever it is, that single thing, and then it just goes, and it goes, like it's just so like, oh my God, like I want to go out there in my underwear and save an old lady. You know, I want to go out there and like see if I could jump off a cliff. It is so, I used to listen to it. I'll tell you this, I used to listen to it when I would run. And I never listened to the main theme from Star Wars when I would run. It's not that it's not a great theme. It's a great theme, but there's something about the Superman theme that is so heroic. It's so like, you know, bombastic and yes, we're going to fucking do it. And go on, you son of a bitch. Come on. Like that's what it is. It's so much like that. It's got that to it. That's all I can think about how to describe it. It's got that to it. And I think you should bring it back. I think that theme is so iconic. It is so identified with that character that you listen, that it could be like the James Bond theme. No matter who plays James Bond, you will always get ding 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 because it's the James Bond theme. Bring that back. Can you imagine how many of us would lose our childhood shit sitting in the movie theater on July 11th watching this new Superman movie? Say, you know, you're going to, okay, I'll go check it out. You sit there. We would all be pissing in the aisle. I mean, the second he opens his shirt, oh my God. And it's not some version of it. It's not some like you know, electric guitar version. It is the orchestra theme. It is like lifted. Maybe you, obviously, you know, you redo it to mix it, master it, make it. Oh my God. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent there, but I'm telling you, they need to do it.
You'd have the license from John Williams to use the main theme tune in the new film.
I can tell you sitting in the theater. Yeah, I can tell you sitting in the theater when I was a kid in '78 when Superman came out and watching those credits. You know, as they missed, you know, like right through you, the way they did those credits and that music, that is probably one of the top 5 all-time favorite movie memories. Like when the Star Destroyer in Star Wars, you know, the very first one, it kept going and going and going. And as a kid, when I saw those when they came out, that Superman opening, with the curtains go, you know, and you have the little, you know, in Metropolis, the little comic book kid's voice. And then when that first credit,
yes,
it's amazing. It still gives me shivers because as that 11-year-old kid, my brother and I we'd hum that thing all day, you know, for the week, you know, the next weekend and for the next couple of months after we saw that movie. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. That's probably, arguably, maybe one of Williams' best scores ever.
It is, and
he's done so much good work.
So much good work, and just I just think they should use it. Not a version, not a variation, not a, you know, a different instrument, not a banjo version, or you know, whatever. Or
use
you know, or you know, a ukulele version,
the Deliverance version of Superman.
Yeah, just use that. People would lose their shit. I mean, you'd almost have somebody going, no.
Snyder wouldn't dare use it. Like, you know, the only reason why it showed up in Justice League was when Joss Whedon came in and, you know, had his cut. You know, Snyder's Superman isn't aspirational or, you know, emotional. It's just, yeah, I'm Superman, you know, like, no. Like, this new Superman movie should have John Williams' score. It should be, you know, the original was You'll Believe a Man Can Fly. This one is Look Up.
That's
you
it.
know,
That's it.
It's time to pull the emo shit, you know, away. And, you know, Superman is truth, justice, and the American way. All right, whatever, American, but
and created by half a Canadian.
Exactly.
Just saying. I'm just saying. I think there was a Canadian in there somewhere that created him, and I'm like we invented basketball. I'm just saying. That
was invented in Springfield, Massachusetts. What are you talking about?
I don't know about that. You might want to look it up. Maybe it was the first game was held here. Maybe. I don't know. There's a Canadian angle to basketball somewhere. But yeah, no, I agree. It's such there's so many great scores. Yeah. So for me, Halloween, Superman, Jaws, Elm Street. And I love, when it comes to Star Wars, I love the Imperial March. That theme, I think, is one of the most iconic themes of all time. The Indiana Jones theme, of course. The
oh my, Close Encounters.
E.T. I mean, this is all Williams. One of my favorite themes, or I don't know if you'd call it a theme, but from Raiders of the Lost Ark, I've talked about this on the channel, is the truck chase theme. Yeah. When it sort of gets lost maybe when you're watching, like you can hear it when you're watching the movie, but you're so enamored with the movie and, you know, you get lost in the action and Indiana Jones being thrown through the window and then coming back and going onto the truck and coming back, and you kind of get lost in the action. And you can hear it, but when you listen to the theme on its own, like if you have the Raiders soundtrack, or just go to YouTube and put in Raiders truck chase soundtrack, whatever, it is so awesome. I mean, and the way that it continues to, like, it begins bum 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 bum, and it goes to that, and then there's this point when all the instruments come in. And it's so it goes through its thing, and then it's like ba 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 run dun 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 dun, and it's just it's like, oh yeah come on you son of a bitch, come on, like that's the best way to describe it. It's the best way to describe those kinds of themes. I love it. I love the truck I believe it's called Desert Chase, I think is the name of the track. Desert Chase. It's amazing.
What about the asteroid field in Empire Strikes Back?
Oh, that's a good one.
Like, da, 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 da.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
The throne room. The throne room. Oh my God. Dun, da, 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 da. No, is that it? No. It's no. The throne room's
no.
It's.
That is a throne.
No, it is.
Room,
Yeah. It is. It's the Star Wars theme, but is that it? Yeah, I think that's it.
That was Lucas channeling Leni Riefenstahl, Triumph of the Will.
Ooh, yes. Yeah. Listen, there's so many. We could go on for hours about these movie soundtracks. There's so many amazing. Let me just before we wrap up here, let me just get a couple of quick super chats came in. I don't know. Fast Forwards 289 sends in $9.99. Thank you, Fast Forwards. Says, what's up, guys? Speaking of New York, my girlfriend and I went to New York in December. My first time ever, and it was really cool to see in person. Now at some point would like to visit Toronto. Great show. Thank you, Fast Forwards. Appreciate that very much. I've been to New York City twice. but not in about 10 years. Fast Forwards follows up with a member chat and says, agreed, Dave. I hope you're going to tell me what you agree with, because I don't know. I remember watching Polaroid in 2019 and enjoying it, but it has a low score on Rotten Tomatoes. That's why I never look at them or trust them. Okay, yeah, you're talking about, just finding a movie, reading the blurb and watching it. Yeah, do that, folks. Listen, you don't have to do it all the time, but just find something and watch it. You might surprise yourself. Josh McKenna, thank you, Josh. $1.99 says, I saw The Substance and Anora knowing nothing. Amazing. That's the way to do it. I haven't seen Anora yet, but I hear good things. And then member chat from Mendel Goodman says, Dave, why did you decide to have Agnes in the story when it was theorized that Billy may have had relations and even killed Agnes in Black Christmas? So good question. So that was theorized by Bob Clark. Obviously, you don't know that when you're watching the original Black Christmas. You might get the sense of what's happening on the phone, that Agnes is a baby and Billy is, and Bob Clark had theorized that maybe Billy had abused Agnes, or maybe he even murdered his whole family and all that kind of stuff. He needs to know that information, so he can sort of figure out, what the information is going to be on the phone, and then drip feed you what he wants. For us, I think there are some people that feel that, and fair enough, that, because I have read some reviews from people who've reviewed our films and said, and I love the homage to the 2006 Black Christmas. And Bruce and I always sort of raise our eyebrows and we kind of go, I don't know what that would be, because there's literally nothing in our movies that was an homage to the 2006 Black Christmas, except for the existence of Agnes. I think, and I'm completely speculating here, for some people, the existence of Agnes, I think, reminds them of the 2006 movie, because she's in that movie, but also it is likely that the 2006 movie might be the only Black Christmas they've seen, or it might have been the first one that they saw, because the original is so under the radar in its niche and it's sort of a cult film. The 2006 movie is kind of more popular, I think, and has been seen by more people. And so I think that's why they make that comparison. The reason why we decided to have Agnes in our film, not because of the 2006 movie, but because we knew where the story was going and how we were going to connect everything. And there's two moments in the original Black Christmas where there's the girl that's murdered in the park, the 13 or 14-year-old girl that's murdered in the park. That's sort of like a semi-subplot, but not really. And then there's the policeman that is murdered in his car, when the camera sort of tracks along the side of the car, and we come up, to the window, and you see the policeman with his throat slit, and he's there in his car. And we kind of thought, well, how the hell did Billy get down from the attic to murder the police officer and then get back into the house, climb the trellis, and back into the attic? And so obviously you're not meant to know that, but how did he do that? And the girl in the park, and how did the girl in the park and the kill? So we thought, well, maybe he had help, and maybe it was Agnes. Maybe Agnes is, there's something going on there. Maybe Agnes, because we figured that Billy would have been about maybe 22, 23 at the time. The girl in the park, I think they mentioned, was like 13 or 14. I think she was a younger teenager. Maybe that was the same age as Agnes. Maybe Agnes was a younger sister, about 10 years younger than Billy. So of course, none of this is set in stone, but we're thinking of all this, trying to kind of connect the dots. Some people will agree the creative decision, some people may not. But that was sort of the reason why we brought Agnes in. But we didn't want to bring Agnes in the way that they brought her in the 2006 movie, which, if you've seen the 2006 movie, you know how she was brought in that movie. We wanted to make it more, realistic, grounded, more mature, and bring her in as well. But bringing her in is not an homage to the 2006 movie. They just decided to take the character that was created in the 74 film and go that way with it. And we took the character that was created in the 74 film and went this way. And so, was Agnes in on it in both movies? I guess, sure. But it wasn't, that wasn't why we brought her in. So yeah, so we found ways, because our goal was to connect not just two movies, but all three movies, by the time we get to the end of the third film. So again, that's why I say, if you haven't seen the original Black Christmas, when Jess is on the phone at the end of Billy 2 saying things like, I'm paraphrasing here, but saying things like, You know, I know who you are. And I know what you and your sister have done. I know how she helped you, the girl in the park, the policeman. If you haven't seen the original film, that just sounds like horror movie, you know, ending climax shit. You know what I mean? But if you've seen the original Black Christmas, you should go, oh, the girl in the park. Oh, the policeman. Oh, are they saying what I think they're saying? Oh my God. Anyway, so that's that's why. So yeah, if you're familiar, if you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. Josh McKenna deleted one and then says, fuck it, we'll do it live. Fuck it. Yes, I love it. Mendel Goodman joins level number 2. McCrazies, I love it. Thank you, Mendel. And that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, Tim, Brandon, Clint, Oliver, I want to thank the 4 of you for being on the show here today. I really, really appreciate it very, very much.
Most welcome.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Any last things you want to say before we skedaddle?
You had one hell of a couple of years, Dave. I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. Yeah, very excited. We have some things that are brewing. Obviously, these things take time, but there's things that are brewing. There's things that are brewing and that we're very excited about. I'm eager to, obviously I have to finish fulfilling all these perks, but I'm eager to move on to the next thing. So yeah, very excited about that. Appreciate it. Clint, any last things you'd like to say?
Yeah, just thank you for bringing it home in style for Jess and for the franchise. We really appreciate it.
Nope. Thank you. Thank you for watching and supporting and being a huge part of it. You know, all of you. I mean, again, and yeah, it's just awesome. Brandon?
No, thank you for having me on. It was great. I was very happy to support the project. And you know, I'm looking forward to see what you do with your channel. I hope you keep going, and you know, this is, you know, we all love you, so you know,
I appreciate it. Well,
and,
not everybody, but
well, not now. No, I'm hoping there was a mod in here tonight paying attention to chat just in case. But yeah, other than that, oh yeah, for sure. Other than that,
your invitation.
Oh God, that was great. That was great. And I'm going to have one of my sexy parties.
That's good. That's
good.
good.
I wish I could do my voice, but I can't.
That's good. I'm impressed. That's really good. That's really good. Folks, if you'd like to see one of Brandon's sexy parties, you can call 1-976-555.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, it will be. Trust me. That is OnlyFans/Brandon Collins. No, just kidding, folks. Just kidding. No, I appreciate your support. Brandon, you know, again, you've been a great moderator, a great contributor, a great supporter. And I appreciate it very much. Appreciate it very much.
You're very welcome.
Oliver, any last things you'd like to say?
I would like to say it was a great honour to be a part of McRae Live here, and a massive support throughout the years, and I'll continue supporter. And also maybe a little bit of a tag if you want to like check out my little instrumental disco music. I'm on SoundCloud under Shadow Eclipse's Ollie Mercer. If you want to like go by there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I didn't know you did that. Yeah. Awesome.
If it's your like vibe.
Yeah, your vibe, your cup of tea.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But, yeah.
All right. Well, listen, guys, stick around. We'll have just a formal goodbye here in a second. Sure. But I really appreciate you. Oh, Clint, did I give you? Yeah, I did. Okay. I didn't. I just sorry. I just didn't want to forget you. But I did, right? Yeah. Okay. Folks, thank you for joining us here on this episode of McRae Live. Really appreciate it. Thank you, of course, to everybody in the chat room for watching. I will be back soon with another episode of McRae Live. But thank you. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Oliver, get to bed. It's probably, what is it? Now it's August the 5th over there.
Like 3:35 in the morning.
There you go. Have a great rest of your Wednesday night, everybody. And I will talk to you all soon. Alrighty. In the meantime and in between time,